This is a thrill. Brian Tyree Henry, thanks for coming in.
It's an honor. I don't think you understand how great this is for me to be here with you, man.
Thanks for saying that. I know the channel means a lot to a lot of people, so it's great to hear.
Absolutely.
Brian has had an enormous run of success here. You're a Tony nominee, an Emmy nominee, an Oscar nominee for Causeway. Which came first?
Well, my first Emmy nomination was for This Is Us, a guest star.
Oh, right, guest star. And then Atlanta later.
And then Atlanta for supporting. And then my Tony nomination came, and then my Oscar nomination.
Which one's better?
Oh, Oscar, clearly. I mean, come on. Like, who doesn't want that gold man? You know what I mean? They're all amazing. Yeah. They're all amazing. And I also understand how rare that is to go from TV, or go from stage to TV to film. So, but I'm honored that, I'm just really honored. It still doesn't feel real that I have all that.
So you picked two films. We'll have the Gordon Parks film, The Learning Tree, coming up in a couple of hours, but you started with the 1959 version of Imitation of Life, directed by Douglas Sirk. This is the Lana Turner, Juanita Moore version. Tell me what drew you to this film. When were you first exposed to it?
I was first exposed to this film at a very young age. My eldest sister, it's one of her favorite movies. And, you know, my upbringing, the television kind of raised me. It was my babysitter. It was my nanny. Like,
where was this growing up?
In Fayetteville, North Carolina. Yeah. And so I realized, because I also grew up in a house of adults, I was always watching classic movies. Like, you know, so my sisters were always watching black and white movies. I remember, like, Nick at Night back in the day. Like, it used to be, you know, Dick Van Dyke Show, or, you know, it was all black and white shows. And so I always watched those. And I remember my sister putting on Imitation of Life for me. And I think I was kind of shocked because it was a classic movie, but it was in color. And I was always fascinated by, you know,
right, you're used to old movies. Means black and white.
Well, it means black and white, right? And so I saw this, and she was like, well, you know, there's another one that's in black and white if you want to watch that. And I was like, no, I want to watch the one that you really... and I had to be like 6, 7 years old. But I also was shocked about what the movie was about, like race relations and what that means, and identity and what that means. And so I remember watching this movie about these women and their daughters and trying to figure out exactly what identity means.
Sarah Jane's been passing at school, pretending she's white.
But I am white. I'm as white as Susie.
And so I was wondering why it was so appealing to my sister for a long time, because I was like, what is this about? What is it about the story that draws you in? And she was just like, well, it's a story that exists. Like, this is how people felt. This is how the identity politics were. This is how it was treated. And also for me as a kid, you know, that was something that was taught to me very early. You know what I mean? Like, very, very early. My father was born in 1940 in Kentucky, you know, drafted in Vietnam, raised in Jim Crow. You know, my mother, same, Southern, raised in Jim Crow. Now they have this kid that they have brought up in the 80s, and where things in politics in regards to race are different. Civil rights has happened. There are certain freedoms that are afforded to me, but the basis of how to move through life as a black man was something that they always wanted me to understand, and not just as a black man, as a black person. Because the other thing that was really crazy is the actress playing the daughter, Susan Conner, that was very confusing to me because she's a white woman. I remember watching and thinking about what she had to dig down for to play this part. And I remember having one of my sisters who just couldn't watch the movie because she was like, well, she's not black.
She's not black, yeah.
So how am I supposed? I was like, but it's the story, right? Like, it's really about the story and the performance that we're trying to get into. But I also never really questioned why they couldn't find a biracial black woman to play that part.
Oh, well, I mean, first of all, then, they could have.
Yeah, they could have. They just didn't, right?
Yeah, I mean, the weird thing is, given Hollywood's progress between 1934 and 1959, 1934, the year of the first version of Imitation of Life, John Stahl directs that. That's Claudette Colbert and Louise Beavers. But Freddie Washington played the daughter in that one. Freddie Washington was a mixed-race black woman.
Yeah.
And it gives a great, great performance. Susan Conner, it's not her fault she got cast as this. Her father was Paul Conner, who was Lana Turner's agent. But her mother's Lupita Tovar, Mexican actress. I think she's really great in it.
I think she is too. And also, it's no different. I mean, Natalie Wood was playing a Latina woman in West Side Story. So I knew that the politics of
this is how it was.
Hollywood,
right?
that's how it was.
Yeah.
But I think what was really amazing was her chemistry with Juanita Moore in that, because Juanita Moore does a lot of heavy lifting in this movie, being this mother who is raising this child who is a black woman, you know, at that time, no matter what, you know, how it was. like to even have a drop of blackness in you was you are black, and that's how you will be treated. But also to then find that balance between her relationship to Lana Turner's character and her daughter, to have these women underneath this roof who are longing for a life that feels so unobtainable, and to have one reach the heights that they wanted, and the other ones denied because of how they were made. So I thought the parallels of that were brilliant, and to then put it into a movie was just, I don't know, incredibly provocative to me.
Yeah. Brian, great stuff. Let's watch it. We'll talk more afterwards.
All right, sounds good.
Here it is, from 1959, produced by Ross Hunter, directed by Douglas Sirk, Juanita Moore, Lana Turner, Susan Kohner, and Sandra Dee in Imitation of Life. I mean, it's a heartbreaking.
The ending.
Yeah.
The ending of this movie.
Are you a crier?
Oh, like I found out when I watched this movie. Mahalia Jackson singing at this funeral, it just sends chills through my spine every time. And just her running up to the casket and finally coming to a realization, it's like, that's too late.
I'm starting, like, it's hard for me right now. I mean, when she's fighting her way through the cops, she goes, let me through.
Let me through.
It's my mother.
Yeah.
It's my mother.
Now it's your mom.
Now it's your mother. Yeah.
You know, now it's your mom.
Yeah.
And that, you know, I mean, there's just something to be said about that scene and coming to terms with who you are, and this woman who cared for you, did everything she could for you, put every dollar aside for you, and that shame that you just carried that you couldn't tell her, like but the ending of that movie, I don't know, it's so beautifully shot. Mahalia Jackson, given the performance, like I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking about her singing at this funeral.
When you saw, did you know what it meant that it was Mahalia Jackson when you saw it?
Oh, yeah.
When as a kid?
Oh, absolutely. My parents made sure I absolutely understood what that meant. But that voice, to carry that sorrow and that pain, and I don't know.
So I think, two things can be true. Should have found a light-skinned black actress for the role, but it was 1959, and then Hollywood didn't concern itself with such things. But Susan Kohner gives a great performance, Best Supporting Actress nominee, along with Juanita Moore. There's just so many moments for me between them where, I mean, she's got to show. There are moments where she expresses genuine love, but that last scene when she's out working as a dancer and Juanita Moore knows she's dying, but she's like, I just hug my baby one more time, and she's like, fine.
Yeah.
But even in then, that she hugs, she has a face, like in her eyes, you're like, oh, she knows. She knows this is a mistake.
Absolutely.
She knows she's making a mistake.
I believe that she knew her entire life all the things that she was doing to her mother was wrong, but the need to feel accepted, the need to have that privilege, the need to be something other than other was the thing that...
It's like, because nobody likes feeling shame. And when she could fool people, she didn't feel it.
Yeah.
Right?
But she also never thought about the consequences of, you're not fooling anybody.
That's right.
Like, at the end of the day, like, what really happens to you when they do find out, which is what you see Juanita Moore trying to instill in her, is like, at the end of the day, what is it that is killing you? Like, so much to be this part of me, to have this part of you be a part of your life. And it also should be said, the complexities between mother-daughter relationships, right?
Yeah.
Like, to watch these young girls, you know, through their formative years become women in a world that is just very unkind to one and not to the other, what that means, how do you continue to fight that? But then you also have these two women who are representatives who have gone through the same thing that you've gone through at some point in their lives and have found a way to find a friendship and a kinship. So there's so many things about this movie that make me feel so many things, because, like, look, now we have a plethora of biracial actors and spaces for biracial narratives and things like that. But there's something about this particular movie that, even to this day, it still feels relevant. Like, it still feels like these conversations must still be happening with mothers and their daughters, especially, you know, biracial families. Like, what are those conversations looking like in this day and age? How do you tell them how to be good human beings and good people while the world is still telling you, regardless, you're still this and you're still that?
Brian, thank you so much. Great conversation.
Pleasure, man.
Don't go away. Brian and I will return momentarily with the second half of his double feature. It's from 1969, a film written, produced, directed, and scored by Gordon Parks from 1969. The Learning Tree is next on TCM. I'm back with Brian Tyree Henry. Brian, thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure, man.
Brian's here for 2 for 1. Just had his first feature, Imitation of Life from 1959. Next film we have 10 years later, The Learning Tree, a movie that I, before you picked it, had seen one time. I obviously remembered that it's a story of this black teenager and his friends, his family, growing up in 1920s Kansas. I didn't remember how violent it was.
Yeah.
I didn't remember how much trauma there was. Like, I have a more quaint memory of it.
Well, it's also it's called The Learning Tree.
Right, yeah, right.
So you immediately think that you're getting into, and even the opening, this song that Gordon Parks wrote.
Yeah, so Gordon Parks, he produced it,
Yeah.
he wrote it, he directed it,
Yeah.
and he scored it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On top of being one of the greatest photojournalists and photographers
Ever.
this is what he decided to do and create and build.
And he was 57 years old
Yeah.
at the time. I mean, his career as a photographer, as one of the most important photographers of the 20th century, was already locked in. And this is a history-making moment. He became the first black director to direct a major studio film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every frame of this movie is a still shot, it feels like. And also it was interesting because all we know about Kansas is Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. And even the beginning of the movie starts with the tornado. But also, I always view it as a coming-of-age movie.
That was definitely coming.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember watching it because I was much older. I think I was in college at this point, Morehouse College. And I remember coming across this movie. I had always loved Gordon Parks' photography and work, but I didn't know that he was a director. At that time in my life, it was still formative years for me. You know, I think I was 19 or 20 when I saw this movie. And so I remember getting this movie and it was just like, what is this? Like, I had never even seen, it reminded me a lot, you know, because all the, like, coming-of-age movies I saw were, like, Stand By Me and Rebel Without a Cause and things like that. But to see this story following this young black kid in 1920s Kansas, I was like, this is interesting to me.
Kyle Johnson plays Newt, and he is really good.
Yeah, he really is.
Good.
Are we gonna live here all our lives?
Don't you like it here, son?
You know, they got a group of 5 friends. They're
All those friends are
they're
great,
very
too.
well cast.
Yeah.
The mom is great, Estelle Evans. She's the anchor of the family.
And that was what was really cool, too, because it was a nuclear family. You know, they had a good home when I was younger. I always knew if a family was good if they had 2-story houses. That's my thing. I was like, if they got 2 stories, then you guys are living like high on the hog. Like, and so looking at this, I was like, they had a 2-story house in 1920s. Like, they had land, you know? And I also love that the uniform of these boys was just a pair of overalls.
Overalls, right? They all wore
just
overalls
running through the streets, man. Like, because it still was an age of innocence, it felt, even though there was still that threat and looming danger of you are still young black boys out here.
Yeah. So the racism that we're exposed to is some that in a sense, if you've seen movies and if you know anything about American history, you expect. There's obviously some deep-seated violent racism in law enforcement, right?
Oh, yeah.
Then there's the daily racism of, like, this moment where Newt, who's a super smart kid, wants to go to college, has ambition, and is just told by his teacher, you can't go to college, you're wasting your time. And that's straight out of Gordon Parks' life. And so even you get the little bits of racism and then the real menacing, dangerous parts of racism, and you realize how bad the cumulative effect of all this.
Absolutely, because, like, even if you look at the movie The Learning Tree, right, where this age of innocence is very short. He can't really be a youth that long before society has already told him what he's denied and what threats are for him, because, like, they still see him as a black man. He's still a threat.
And what his limited
path is, right? Yeah. And I just remember thinking, like, you know, no matter how youthful Newt and his friends are, there are just threats that are going to be put on them that they won't have the luxury of being like, well, I'm young, you know, I'm trying to learn and develop this way. They're black men. And so I going to this all-black male institution, you know, in the heart of the South, in Atlanta, Georgia, still, you know, it's in the South, the seed of where the civil rights movement took place. I was just realizing the juxtaposition of what Newt was going through and what I was going through at the same time in my development. And it was just like it was just so interesting to me to know that the times have changed, but yet the stories are still the same, you know? And I think that, you know, it was something that absolutely attracted me to Newt and his friends and their circumstances. Because I thought about me and my friends in Atlanta. Like, we're all in college. You know, we are all black men who have excelled at education, and we're going to college. But if we're out and about,
Wait, once you leave campus, which you must have done all the time. You go into Atlanta, you go to dinner, you go to a bar, you go out.
It's a whole nother thing.
And you're always aware of it, right?
Always aware.
Always aware.
Always aware to this day. And I'm in my 40s. I'm always aware of it. Yeah.
Brian, thanks very much. More to discuss after the film.
Absolutely.
Here it is, from 1969, written by Gordon Parks, produced by, Gordon Parks, directed by Gordon Parks.
Who's it scored by?
Let me see, I have his name here. Gordon Parks. Right. There it is. Here are Kyle Johnson and Estelle Evans in The Learning Tree. Back with Brian Tyree Henry. Thanks for programming these two movies, Imitation of Life and Learning Tree, which we just saw. Movie definitely comes
Another
full
ending.
circle.
Another ending, right?
Yeah. So there were 5 deaths in this film.
And 5 deaths are only the deaths you could see.
That's right. I mean, Marcus, who's killed there at the end, actor named Alex Clark, is a really difficult role.
Wonderful.
A role that you expect there to be, just because you watch a lot of movies, there's going to be redemption. But Gordon Parks was like, no, Marcus is angry.
Yeah.
And he has a reason to be angry, and he's not going to get over his anger.
It's so easy to look at a character like that and be like, I don't like him.
Right.
You know, I should be upset with him. And there's one scene in particular in this movie when they go to the fair, just innocently going to the fair.
Yeah, like the way teenage boys...
The way we do, the way I did when I was in junior high and high school, just going to the county fair to ride some rides, to get some candied apples, to do my thing, to hang out with friends. And they are pinned against each other in this fight.
Yep.
And they have to fight.
Yeah.
And you watch the whole crowd just come up and watch these black boys like pummel each other.
Right, yeah.
And you see Newt, he's victorious in the fight, but nobody won this fight. And I just remember that feeling of that, and also trying to compare it to things that I've been in my life, you know, like, and what that looks like. And just to see this whole group of people celebrate watching these boys come together.
The sheriff, you know, I mean, look, we already know the sheriff's a terrible person.
Yeah.
But the way he cheers on that fight, he's like, kill him.
Yeah.
Kill him. I mean,
Yeah.
So this movie has way more intensity and way more tragedy and trauma. I keep using that word, but that's how I felt when I was watching it. So as a result, I thought it was good, but now I think it's great. Like, it's a great film.
Gordon Parks did an amazing job.
Yeah, and this is his first movie, one of the most influential photographers of the 20th century, and he made this great career for himself. But he took this very famous picture called American Gothic, Washington, D.C., a cleaning woman, a janitorial worker, like the American Gothic painting. She's just standing there, her face expressionless.
Weary, worn.
Weary is better, right? Weary and worn, and no pitchfork. She's holding a broom and a mop. It's a great photo.
He's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. And it's amazing, this capturing of 20th century life that he did in his photographs, but then to put into this film, because I even think about like just the opening scene when you see this barn and these wheat fields. He does this amazing thing of just taking all these norms of what should be considered idealistic American experiences deep under the surface can be switched immediately because of race and because of where you are and because of your socioeconomic background. And it's wonderful how he did, because I always just kind of laugh about how uplifting the theme song is. Like, it's just this beautiful orchestra, this song of just this young boy going through this wheat field, spending his day, and how immediately, the minute that he makes the decision to leave home, all these choices of life and death happen to him. And that is real. Like, that's truly, I think, the lesson of the movie.
Yeah. Brian, great stuff. I can't thank you enough for coming in.
It's my pleasure, man. Anytime.
And for pairing these two movies together. Yeah, you're welcome back anytime. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Brian's done for the night, but the movies continue here on TCM. Unfortunately, though, the next movie will be presented by Eddie Muller. Noir Alley is next on TCM. I apologize.